gloomy out there, y'all. It's rainy. It's kind of depressing. It's gloomy, dreary, all the type of words you want to use to describe the look of it out there. But you know what? You don't have to be sad. You don't have to be depressed. Why? Because it's Friday, y'all.
It's Friday, Friday.
Hey, it's Friday. Good morning. Let's go. It's Friday, y'all. Happy Friday, everybody. We've made it. It's the end of the week. We're going into the weekend. We're going to relax, chill, pay tribute to the lovely, what's her name? The Friday girl. My coffee has not kicked in yet. I am tired, y'all. Okay, you guys are going to think that I'm nuts, but look at all the fluids I have in front of me right now. I have my coffee, I have my energy drink, and I have a Dr. Pepper. Because wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? Yeah, I need help this morning because I am tired. And I'll tell you why I'm tired. Because person in the chat and I have been freaking playing this Palworld shit for 2 nights straight up until the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I'll tell you what I think about this game later on in the morning. Because I do want to talk about it. I have some thoughts. And mind you, it's thoughts coming from the perspective of someone who has never played Pokemon, who has never played Fortnite, who has never played, any of, like, Minecraft, any of those building games, survival games, none of that stuff. I've played a little bit of Monster Hunter, which this could also be compared to, but I've never played any of those other stuff. So this is going to be coming from a perspective of someone who's not into those type of games. So I'll talk about that. I'll also be talking about my experience with Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, because I was part of that alpha test period that most people know about and we couldn't talk about for a while, but they lifted the NDA on that, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, because word on the street, people ain't liking the game. Guess what?
You blew it!
That's all I'll say for now. And then I'll talk about my thoughts and all that stuff later on in the morning as well. And we'll cover some video game news topics, hot topic items, all that good stuff. I'm here just chilling, drinking my multiple amounts of caffeine fluidity, get myself going for the day and get myself all geared up and ready. Because you know why? It's Friday, y'all. Let's go. Hey, hey, hey.
I'm gonna come.
It's gonna be that kind of morning. I am going to be abusing the shit out of this soundboard, man. All right. You know what? Poll in the chat. Let's see what everyone up to this weekend. Oh, what the hell was that? Hello? Jesus? I'm gonna post a poll. I'm not gonna write a poll or dance on a poll. I'll just post a poll. Start a poll. All right. What y'all doing this weekend? What the hell's going on? Shut up. You know what? It wants to play again, so let's go. All right. Calm your ass. All right. Holy shit. Stream Deck bug issues. Sleeping. Watching a movie. Playing a video game. Wow. That thing does just not want to shut up. All right. Something else. Sound off. All right. Polls up. I want to know what y'all doing this weekend. How are you going to unwind? How are you going to like chill out? All right. I'm going to restart my Steam Deck because this thing is bugging out. It cannot take the power of Friday. Friday's too much. It's too much. Too much. Friday is just way too damn much. I get it. It's nuts. All right, let's just restart that. Make sure I have access to that. PQ, hope you're having a good morning. It's earlier. You are 1 hour earlier than me, so I'm coming to you from the future.
Wow.
I know. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You blew it!
But like I said, it's Friday, y'all.
It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
All right. How shall we start this morning? Let's talk about some headlines, shall we? Headline time. Let's go. So, every live show, I like to talk about some of the major headlines in pop culture news, movies, TV, video games, all that good stuff. Give my take and spin on it all. One of the big items that came out in the last couple of days that maybe some of you know or don't know is Warner Brothers, after the small falling out they've had with Christopher Nolan over Tenet, is working with him to re-release Tenet into theaters this year. And it's an interesting thing to think about. And I'll break it down as I read the article, or at least the headline to you, because the article is behind a paywall, because it was scooped by Jeff Snyder, the InSnyder.com. I've known of this guy for a while. I follow him. I've mentioned him before because, oh, what the hell? That's not what I wanted. Here we go. Because he is one of the critics that fought Uwe Boll. When Uwe Boll put out that challenge to box critics of his movies, Jeff Snyder was one of them. Of course, he lost, like a lot of them did. And I've been following his career ever since because he's an interesting cat, and he's in the scoop business, and he scooped a couple days ago, and then all the trades picked it up, and then we got the trailer dropped yesterday that Warner Brothers is re-releasing Tenet in theaters, including IMAX, in February 23rd. They're working with Nolan directly on this, and some are speculating this is like a make good, kind of like our bad for mistreating the release of this movie. I mean, it was during lockdown when the pandemic was in its height. We're talking about 2020 at this point. This was the summer of 2020. Famous story of mine about this movie is that me and my two friends, one of whom is Blake, my movie bro, my movie time partner on the podcast. Make sure to check us out on your podcast platform of choice, or you can check out the clip outs here on the YouTube channel. Us three found a theater in Connecticut, which is like a good, hour and a half, almost 2 hour drive from New York, where we're from, that was open. And they were renting out theater rentals. You couldn't buy a ticket and watch a movie regularly. You had to rent out a theater to include your friends, your family, those you know who will be safe to watch a movie with you. And they were doing it for dirt cheap. They were doing a movie rental for a movie of your choice or whatever was new and available out there for as many people as you want for only $100. Think about it. A theater fits what, 50 people max, depending on the size? If you at least had 10 of your friends, that's 10, that's what, $5 each. Wait, that's, am I doing the math right? No, that's $10 each. Sorry, it's morning. My bad. Each person pays $10. You have a private theater all to yourselves to watch this movie or a movie. And they were doing drink and popcorn combo deals for only $5. Wrap your head around that. That's some nutty stuff. So we said, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's drive out to Connecticut. Let's rent out this theater because Christopher Nolan, his movies deserve to be seen on the big screen. And we were going to be the Nolan supporters, despite him, he was kind of like a villain around that time because like, nope, I'm not going to do the streaming, day and date release. I'm not going to allow them to put my movie on streaming this soon like everyone else because my movie deserves to be seen on the big screen. That's how he is. He makes movies for that type of release. And I don't blame him because he is a director that earned that, to be honest with you, especially after seeing Oppenheimer, but even his movies before that. So we rented it, we watched it, we enjoyed it. Was it his best film? No. Was it interesting? Yes. Could you understand it from beginning to end on the first try? No. I think it does deserve a second viewing. And I think both critics and audiences will agree that this is not one of his strongest. That being said, most people saw it at home on their couches, on their TVs. If they've seen it on the bigger screen or in IMAX, they may have a different opinion about it, at least for the entertainment and the atmosphere of it all. So it's interesting to see Warner Brothers and Nolan working together to make right by him and giving it a proper release and a proper shot in theaters, especially now that he's getting all of these praises for Oppenheimer. He's getting, he's gotten nominations for the Oscars, Best Film, Best Director, Cillian Murphy, Best Actor, right? So all this great stuff. But I think if you read the lines, in between the lines there, I think Warner Brothers is desperate to try to get him under their house again. Because for a while, Nolan had a deal with Warner Brothers Studio to basically do movies just for them. Once the whole Tenet thing came to a head, he's like, you know what? I'm taking my talents elsewhere. And he decided to go with Universal for his next project. Now, I always thought that he signed an exclusive deal with Universal to do movies for them, but he did not. He was doing it on a project-to-project basis, from what it looks like. So he's technically a free agent, right? So I think really what this means, to be honest with you, is I think Warner Brothers is really secretly trying to work with him to get him to be exclusive with them again, because Warner Brothers need talent. They need stuff that they know that can guarantee them success at the box office, success for their streaming platforms and everything that's included under their umbrella. They have the DC reboot coming out with James Gunn helming it, which looks promising. We don't know yet how it's all going to turn out, but it looks promising. And, Max is doing well. There are rumors that they're talking with Paramount to maybe merge so that they can get the Paramount library and filmography and properties under their umbrella too. They are licensing off their other stuff to other platforms. as of this week, I believe you can watch Sex and the City on Netflix now, which was exclusive on Max for a while. You could see DC movies on Netflix, on Tubi, on other platforms because they're licensing them out. And the whole snafu with canceling that movie, Coyote versus Acme, they're now allowing the filmmakers involved to shop it around to have another studio release it. Excuse me. So they're doing a lot of stuff that they can do to make money and recuperate from the last couple of years, recuperate from the writer's strike, all that goodness. So this is, I think, their attempt to say, hey, Nolan, we effed up, our bad. We quote unquote,
You blew it!
yeah. And we want to do right by you. So let's do a proper release of Tenet. And maybe your next movie, you'd want to consider us as your studio. And this is the roadmap that we have planned out if that was to be the case, right? So I think overall that's going to be what's going on there behind the scenes. Whether it's going to work or not, who knows? But I'm sure as a filmmaker, as a creator, Nolan doesn't want to worry about shopping his stuff around. He wants to know he has proper backing so that all he could do is focus on the writing and the filmmaking process of whatever project he's working on next. If Warner Brothers is willing to bend over and do everything for him, then I wouldn't blame him in one bit to take on that. Yeah, to agree to whatever it is that they're talking about. Max chiming in, the artist formerly known as HBO Max needs a new name. Max is already taken. That's right, Max. You are the one and only Max.
Wow. I'm gonna come.
By the way, you all know it's Friday. Let's go. Let's go. All right, cut that shit out. What's wrong with you? Take it easy. All right. So I thought that was extremely interesting news there with the whole Christopher Nolan Warner Brothers thing. I didn't think that was going to happen. But here's the question to all of you. I'm sure most of you out there have already seen Tenet, or you've made it known to yourself that you have no interest in seeing Tenet at all. With them planning to re-release it in theaters and IMAX now, next month, are you willing to go out and watch it? Either for the first time or again. I'm curious. Let me know in the chat, in the comments, what y'all think about that. So that was like the big non-video game related news topic I wanted to talk about. But let's talk about some video game stuff. I know if you are familiar with the channel, you see me always talking about movies, streaming. I try to keep it within the pop culture realm and all that. The one portion of pop culture that I haven't really touched a lot on, I've dabbled, and maybe you've noticed recently that I'm trying to bring it back and everything, and that is video games. Now, I have a long history in video games. I used to work in the industry many moons ago. I've always been a huge fan of gaming. I've always kept up to date with all the news and all the ins and outs of everything that's happening. I still have friends who work in the industry. We talk, we rap, we do all that stuff. Not rap and then wiki, not like that. But, we talk the biz, we talk shop and everything. So I wanted to kind of like dedicate some time during the week to be able to talk more about the video game industry, whether it's news or some games that I'm playing. I'm trying to catch up on some of the newer stuff, but I'll be honest, I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be one of those YouTubers who day one, with all these games releasing, going to be able to play them and talk about them. That's not what I do. I'll get to them when I eventually get to them. I'm really more focused on stuff that I can just sit down, get into, in and out, not having to have to worry and dedicate my ass to. That's why this whole Palworld shit has thrown me completely off, and it's very, very fascinating and interesting. But we're not going to talk about that yet. But that's one of also the reasons why I love going back to like more retro games and games that I have in my library that I have not yet been able to finish or complete as of yet. So I'm spending a lot of more time trying to do that. This year, I'm starting an initiative, which is what I call kind of like the video game backlog pledge. I don't know if that's going to be the official title, but I'm dedicating a certain amount of games that I'm going to commit myself to completing this year. And when I say completing, I mean like, beating from beginning to end. I'm not going to be going crazy with the trophy hunting or the achievement hunting or any of that stuff. I just want to be able to complete the game, said like I did it, I know the story, all said and done, bing bang boom, now back to the archive, right? So, and I'll release some info on that stuff because I have solidified the list. And I'm going to make this an annual thing. And then I think what will be awesome is that if any of you out there are willing to do their own pledges along with me, I'll create a tiered membership, and we could create our own little game club together, and then we'll chat every month about our progress. Maybe something else diverted our attention from the backlog because of maybe a game like Palworld or whatever. So we'll have conversations, live streams, all that stuff like that. So details to come. But as far as game related news, the big news that dropped yesterday that I did want to address because it involves something that is very deep to my heart. When Microsoft announced layoffs across the board, across their entire properties there. So I'm just going to pull up my screen here. My screen, not scream. Wake up. All right. So I'm on The Verge here. Microsoft lays off 1,900 Activision Blizzard and Xbox employees. Let's read the article here. Microsoft is laying off 1,900 employees at Activision Blizzard and Xbox this week. While Microsoft is primarily laying off roles at Activision Blizzard, some Xbox and ZeniMax employees will also be impacted by the cuts. The cuts work out to roughly 8% of the overall Microsoft gaming division that stands at around 22,000 employees in total. The Verge has obtained an internal memo from Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer that confirms the layoffs. Let's read a bit what Phil had to say here. It's been a little over 3 months since the Activision Blizzard and King teams joined Microsoft. As we move forward in 2024, the leadership of Microsoft Gaming and Activision Blizzard is committed to aligning on a strategy and an execution plan with a sustainable cost structure that will support the whole of our growing business. This is business speak for we've acquired these groups and we've never made any changes because but we realize there's a lot of redundancy and fat that we can trim out because other divisions that we already have under our house can take care of a lot of stuff that these people used to do on their own. So we're getting rid of all the redundant positions, divisions, all that stuff to be more cost effective. That's basically what that means. Together, we've set priorities, identified areas of overlap, see, boom, and ensured that we are aligned in all best opportunities of growth. As part of this process, we have made a painful decision to reduce the size of our gaming workforce by approximately 1,900 roles out of the 22,000 people on our team. The gaming leadership team and I are committed to navigating this process as thoughtfully as possible. The people who are directly impacted by these reductions have all played an important part in the success of Activision Blizzard, ZeniMax, and the Xbox teams, and they should be proud of everything they've accomplished here. Blah, 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 dedication, yada, yada, yada. Looking ahead, we'll continue to invest in areas that will grow our business, so on and so forth. Corporate mumbo jumbo. Thank you, Phil Spencer. All right. So, like I said, it's not surprising to me. It's unfortunate, but it's not surprising to me that this came during this time now. We are in a new year. Microsoft is reevaluating a lot of stuff because, let's face it, the game market right now, the landscape is kind of all over the place. You have Nintendo still writing out a system that's really old for its current gen right now. Rumors about their next consoles coming out. You have PlayStation that is hanging in there. Finally, selling consoles after the whole pandemic, lack of supplies. and lack of getting consoles out into stores. And Microsoft has just always been focusing on more the subscription service, you know, and I think that's where they excel, to be honest with you, because their audiences are not just console gamers. Most of them are also PC gamers. So they have to placate to both sides. And if they had one overarching subscription service that both type of players can benefit from, that's basically where I see the future of their business is going to go. And now with Blizzard, Activision all under their belts and everything, along with Bethesda, they have story making games that they can focus on, and now they have one of the hottest multiplayer games out there in the Call of Duty series. So I think for the long run they're set, but they also need to make sure that they are seated for success. And I'll get into more of something that I've heard and some of the rumblings around that involved a lot of these layoffs too. The article continues to say the layoffs come the same month Riot Games, Google, Discord, Twitch, Unity, eBay, and other companies within the media tech world have announced cuts. Microsoft completed its acquisition in October. So this was just since that was all finalized in October, it was just a matter of time before this was going to happen. Also, Microsoft last announced big layoffs a year ago, affecting 10,000 employees. The software maker is due to report its fiscal Q2 2024 earnings next week. And I'm sure that's why all this had to be done and out of the way in order for them to prepare for all of that. So let's talk about speculation, rumors, all that good stuff. So word on the street is that some of the departments on the Microsoft side, not Activision Blizzard per se, but on the Microsoft side that was affected by these layoffs are the departments and groups that are responsible for their physical media releases. I've heard multiple people talk about that. People who have ties within the company and the industry, not me, just people that I follow, people that I read online and all that. That is the trend that we're seeing going into this year, unfortunately. And if any of these video game companies, studios, movie studios want to really successfully trim their fat to be more cost effective moving forward, it's going to have to be at the expense of physical media, because physical media is an expensive endeavor for any company to take on. They have to pay for the media itself, the production, the packaging, marketing, retail, retail locations, and relationships they have with all of that stuff. That costs a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources and people involved in it. So the easiest way to cut the fat, especially now that we are more so than ever looking at an all digital world, they're going to have to start making that choice and cutting all that stuff. We've seen Netflix cut their DVD rental division completely out last year. That was one of their ways of saying, we can't support this anymore. We're wasting money, even though people were still subscribed to that, believe it or not. We tend to forget here in the United States that our internet in certain parts of the country still aren't up to snuff with major cities. You do still have regions using DSL. That's a fact. Google it, look it up. So the rumors behind all of that make sense, especially when we had announcements of Best Buy, Walmart, these major retail locations saying that they're cutting the support of selling physical media goods in 2024. Walmart with its video games, they said they were going to start, cutting that out. Best Buy with their movies and DVDs and Blu-rays, they were going to cut that out. It's already been reported that, people, as soon as this year started, within the week or second week of January, People will be going to their Best Buy stores and their Blu-ray and DVD sections are completely gone. My local one, the last time I was there, like a couple of weeks ago, still had a small, I want to say one row of everything just mixed together. So it's like I remember back in the day when in Best Buy they had a section for Blu-rays, they had a section for DVDs, plus within the DVD section they had categories: animation, action, all that stuff. TV had its own section. The box sets, they had a 4K section. Now it's one whole row that's everything all combined. And then you'll see end caps and display stand-ups sprinkled in throughout the store, especially at the beginning and near the registers, because a lot of people do impulse buying, right? But they're cutting that stuff out. Walmart's cutting out their game physical media. There's rumors that hit the internet that Nintendo were not delisting, but they were cutting production of certain games, and these games will be soon considered out of print. Go back to this list I have here. Games like Paper Mario, The Origami King, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Pikmin 3, Metroid Dread, Kirby Star Allies, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Fire Emblems, Yoshi's Crafted World, WarioWare, Switch Sports, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Mario Maker, and Mario Strikers. These games are rumored to be going out of print soon. Basically, what that means is that they're no longer going to be producing these physical media copies anymore, because I'm sure sales are down, no one's buying that stuff, and it's costing them a lot of money. So they're going to nix them. We're not going to produce them anymore. They'll still be available on the eShop. And if they ever do decide to re-release them, especially when Switch 2 is announced, then they'll probably re-release them as Nintendo Classics or Revisited or something of the like, whatever. But it's all part of this trend that we're seeing. We're seeing that people are getting rid of physical media. For me personally, I hate that. I'm a huge fan and supporter of physical media. Because, what happens if one day the internet is down? It's happened to me before, where my internet goes down because of bad weather or whatever, or something exploding at a transformer near the center that supplies power to all of these internet companies, or the lines are cut because of construction. What are you gonna do? Can't play games that you're streaming on the cloud. You can't watch movies off of your streaming service. So it's good to always have physical media, because you could always pop stuff in. I remember when my internet went down because there was a snafu before I made the move to Verizon Fios. I was under Spectrum, and Spectrum, in a timely manner, it seemed like almost every other month they had an outage. It was the most annoying and disappointing thing I had to experience. And then the last time I experienced an outage with them, it lasted a whole week, and that was the last straw. I was like, I can't do this anymore. But for that whole week, I was left to my own devices as far as entertainment was concerned. Now, yeah, I have games I've downloaded from, streaming platforms and everything. But when it comes to movies, everything was, connected to either Netflix or Vudu, where I used to, purchase my digital movies from. But I do have an extensive library of Blu-rays and DVDs, and I was able to at least watch movies that I wanted to watch that way. And the physical games, of course, I could play if I really wanted to. Paul chiming in saying more like once a week. I wouldn't go that far. I know you like to exaggerate, but it was bad. It was really, and maybe it also depends on where you are, what location you're in. For me, it was once every 2 months. It seemed to have happened. It's like clockwork. It's like when you feel like there hasn't been an outage in a while, strap in, because it's going to happen any minute. And it more than likely did. I've been with Verizon Fios now for, I want to say 3 years, 4 years, and I've only experienced one outage. That's it. And it wasn't even their fault. Someone was doing construction in the neighborhood and accidentally cut the line. Can't blame them for that. Just blame the idiots that usually do construction in the area and they don't pay attention. PQ chiming in. Remember when we played Destiny 2 and I had weekly outages, right? Yeah, but I also just think that was your neighborhood too. I just think that you're just like in a bad pocket. But yeah, I do remember that. And it's annoying. It's annoying. But those things happen. But we're moving towards an all digital world, an all digital landscape, because it is more cost effective for these companies to maintain it that way. It was already rumored that the next Xbox console was going to be all digital. They weren't even going to have a physical drive in there. The PS5 Slim that was recently released, you could tell they were putting more focus on the all digital version versus the one with the thing attachment to it. Plus, they're punishing you because if you decide to go with the PS5 Slim all digital, and you wanted to eventually get a physical drive, you would have in total ended up paying much more for that combination than you would have with the OG PS5 with the drive already attached to it. So they're punishing you. It's like they're telling you you're an idiot for wanting to have a physical drive attached to your console, because we're not going to be supporting that anytime like in the near future. So you want to do that? You want to be that way? You want to be hard-headed? We're going to charge you more for it, dummy.
Wow. I'm gonna come.
And that's just how it is. I mean, I remember back in the day, if you wanted to buy a game for PC, you were able to buy physical copies of it and install it into your computer and do what you do. Laptops, desktops, you rarely see them these days come with any kind of physical drive attached to it. It's just not a thing anymore. They were the first piece of tech that really started nixing physical media. We were already familiar with iPods and iPads and iTunes and Spotify. We've been so used to that for years now. But when it came to movies or video games, we still had the ability to buy physical copies of these things. Now, the last 3 years, I would say, 4, maybe 5, if you're a PC gamer, when was the last time you bought a physical copy of a PC game? I couldn't tell you. I think the last physical copy of a PC game I have is like SimCity's like 3000 or something like that. I don't even remember when that came out, but that was like ages ago. So I mean, unfortunately, this is the path we're going towards, and in order for them to really focus on that, they have to cut their departments out, cut the plans for all of that. When it comes to movies and the movie studios, you can tell they're slowly getting lazy with that stuff. Last year, when the Barbie movie came out on 4K, I did a review on it on the channel, and I was extremely disappointed because it was such bare bones production. They didn't even animate the menus. You had a freaking PNG or JPEG as the main part of the menu. And as far as all the extra features, these were things that they probably would have included in their simple marketing. No commentary, no blooper reel. They re-released Barbie in theaters with a deleted scene at the end with Helen Mirren showing up. They didn't even bother putting that on the 4K Blu-ray release. Lazy. Because and by seeing that, I knew right there and then, writing's on the wall. These studios are they don't give a shit about Blu-ray and physical media anymore. Some studios do. And then you're going to have your third-party production places like Arrow Video, Shout, Let It All Out. These are the things that we do about. Come on. We have those places that will pay for the licenses to in order that they could create their mega bundle physical releases. There's a release coming out because this is, I believe it's the 30th or 35th anniversary of the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out way back ago. The live action with Paul Leguizamo and Anthony Hopkins. No, is it not Anthony Hopkins? The other guy. Whatever. The really crappy movie. There's this company that's re-releasing a special limited edition crazy package that's going to cost you like $100 for a crappy movie. There are going to be fans out there who's going to want to buy it, right? But I'm seeing that as our future, as that's what's going to happen. The studio behind Baldur's Gate 3, there wasn't an official physical copy released for any system, but they're working on one on their own. But it's like this super deluxe mega bundle thing that's going to run you like $100, $150. That's going to come with all of these extra thingamajiggies. You know, that's just how it's going to be like. And it's unfortunate because it's like, all I want is to be able to have that option to buy a game that I can have in my hand. If I wanted to. You know, something that I could like keep, something I could put up on the shelf and say, you know what? I like this game. Let's play it right now. I don't have to worry about waiting to download it or running out of storage space on my system that I can't hold all of these games all at once. So I have to make room and delete some and then reinstall some. I mean, how annoying is all that stuff? Max chiming in, oh boy, SimCity 3000. I still remember Call Cousin Vinny. Yeah. SimCity. I used to love those games. I haven't played a game like that in ages. Another game I used to love is Roller Coaster Tycoon. I actually recently just installed that on my machine again, because there's this group that worked on modernizing it for modern machines, and it looks fantastic. It's a blast, and I could just putz around and create, you know, my own theme parks or whatever, and it's a lot of fun. Maybe I'll do that on stream one day. I'll have the audience kind of, you know, build a theme, an amusement park with me. That'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, it's a sad realization for those like me who support physical media, but that's the route we're going now. And I won't be surprised that, you know, in 2-3 years, we really see, at least on the video game side of things, only digital support. Nintendo may still support physical media because they're stubborn. They're always stuck in the old ways. Remember, they were one of the ones that still wanted to stick to cartridge when everyone else was going, you know, disc format. So I personally think that they're still going to be, at least, you know, in the short term, they'll be one of the few that are still supporting physical media. But for the rest, for Sony, for Microsoft, I don't see that happening anymore. It's sad, and it's an end of an era, but such is life, you know? Let me know what you think about all that in the comments. I know it's kind of depressing. I know we're getting old. But also you have to think about it this way too. We are creatures of convenience. The minute we find that there's a convenient way to do something, we switch to whatever that is. Think about food. And I'm not going to like go back and talk about like caveman versus modern day and all that stuff. Just simply going out and buying food. If we wanted to get food because we were lazy to cook, we would either go out to a Chinese food takeout place, place our order, grab food, take it home. Then we had the ability to call them on the phone and say, hey, I want this, you know, X, Y, and Z. They deliver it, you pay them cash, whatever. Or you could pay them credit card over the phone, whatever the case. Then they had the apps. They started introducing apps like Grubhub, DoorDash. Seamless? Is Seamless even a thing anymore? I know they were eaten up by the Grubhub folks. And you can now order your shit online. and have them, them deliver to you because we're fucking lazy. We are creatures of convenience, and the minute something convenient offers us a better solution to something, we hop on it right away. It happened with the music industry. The moment we found out that we could just download songs whenever we want online, boom, sold. I'm gonna do that from now on. Streaming movies online. Oh, you mean I don't have to buy a DVD, rent the DVD, or pay $20 a ticket to go out in the theater and watch it? Sold. Just do it like that. And now video games. Oh, you mean I don't have to go out to the store at midnight, or I don't have to go out and actually buy a physical copy, or order it online and wait for them to deliver it to me? I could just instantly, click a button, hit purchase, and have it downloaded directly into my console. And then within depending on your internet connection, within an hour, play it. Sold. Sign me up. And it's because of all that we have this shift and change. We are creatures of convenience, and that's basically the full story. And if someone like myself is sitting here bitching about, physical media, you should support it, this and that, you have to realize, it's not the studio's fault. It's not the game maker's fault. They're seeing the trend. They're seeing the writing on the wall. It's society. It's us. We showed them when we proved to them that we're good with digital downloads. We're good with streaming, and we're gonna keep it that way. Like, all right, now why the hell are we spending all this money on trying to produce these DVDs or produce these copies of these games to ship out? Think about it. When was the last time any of you went to a GameStop to actually buy something for you to play that day? I go to GameStop just to see what's left of the GameStop. Like, what are they even doing there? And 9 times out of 10, the entire store is completely empty, and all the employees, whether it's 2 people, sometimes it's just 1 person, that person is putzing around on his phone. Or if there's a manager on duty, they're usually doing something on the computer, scanning crap. Or if it's more than 2 people, they're just by the counter having a conversation about Secret Invasion or, The Flash or whatever game that they played the night before. No one's going to these stores anymore. I don't know why GameStop is even still around. I mean, I don't wish any company ill will, but I guarantee you they're one of the next ones that you're going to start seeing them disappear. Because there's just no point anymore. So, all right, rant over. Let's go.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
Let's go, y'all. All right. What else are we going to be talking about this morning? I think when it comes to news, the last thing, there was an article that I just saw late last night, and it still coincides with what we're talking about, and especially when it comes to Nintendo. And the Nintendo Switch has been around for so long. Well, it feels like it's been around forever, to be honest with you. It's only a matter of time before they finally announce their new system. And there's rumors and rumors and rumors about them announcing the Switch 2. We've been hearing about it for months now. And there's an analyst. They did an article on Bloomberg. And basically, it does sound like this year we're finally going to get that announcement. I won't be surprised if during the summer, during the quote unquote E3 period, because there's not going to be an E3 anymore, that there's going to be some sort of Nintendo Direct announcing something like that. So the article here on Bloomberg says Nintendo's next Switch coming this year with LCD. Omedia says. Omedia analyst Hiroshi Hayashi from Japan. The new device from the Kyoto-based games maker will be responsible for a doubling in shipments of so-called amusement displays in 2024. Hayase said in Tokyo on Friday his research focuses on small and medium displays, and he bases annual forecasts on checks with companies in the supply chain. Nintendo's 7-year-old Switch has sold over 132 million units and is approaching the end of its life cycle. The company has been tight-lipped about the potential successor, but expectations have narrowed to this year's holiday period for the release of the next generation. Osaka-based Sharp Corp last year said it was supplying LCD panels and working closely with the maker of an upcoming console that was then at the R&D stage. Sharp, which is owned by Foxconn Technology Group, has worked with Nintendo in the past and served as a Switch assembler during the pandemic. And of course, Nintendo has no comment on all that stuff. But here you have people within the supply chain seeing, obviously where the patents are going, what types of supplies the companies are buying. And it's inevitable that they're definitely working on a next system. And that's basically what's going to happen there. Now let's speculate a little bit. Let's have some fun. Switch 2. I think one of the biggest criticisms about the Switch is the technology is very dated. Even when the Switch came out, it was very dated technology. It was like mobile technology from a couple of years prior. But I think their main focus was always mobility, right? They had so much success with their portable systems. The Game Boys, the DSs. Switch was supposed to be their solution to combine the two together in one form factor. So if you wanted to game at home, you could. You wanted to take it on the road, you could. But if they're focusing on something that's a combo, they, of course, wanted to make it affordable, so they had to make it less powerful. And this is the middle ground that they found. And of course, it was a huge success. It worked. But now in the day and age of Steam Decks, they're your Ioneos, your Lenovo's, really kind of chipping away at the market of portable computer gaming. They need to up their game a little bit because now they're competing with all that. But at the end of the day, they're still Nintendo. People are still going to buy their products if they want Nintendo stuff. If they want to play the next Mario, if they want to play the next Zelda, if they want to play the next, who knows, whatever they're going to announce Metroid again, they have to do so on a Nintendo platform. So they can up their technology up more, but they don't have to go to the same lengths as a Steam Deck, or a ROG, what's that thing? Asus ROG Ally, whatever you call it. Because they're not competing with that market. They're still competing with a casual portable gaming market that, to this day, if they were really readily available and producing them, the Nintendo DSs, those people who buy that stuff. There were rumors I read at the end of last year, that the tech behind the Switch 2 may be equivalent to a PlayStation 4, which sounds kind of sad, right? Especially now that we're so used to the power and tech behind our Xboxes, our PS5s. We're so used to that stuff now that if we see something smaller or behind, the keen eye will be able to point that out and be like, oh, this is lacking. If anything, it's going to hurt third party. We saw the struggle that Nintendo had when Mortal Kombat came out on the Switch, and what a shit show that was, right? The Arkham whatever collaboration, that was also kind of somewhat laughed at. So if anything, it's going to really hurt and hamper third-party developers, because all of their focus is on current next-gen type of platforms. And if they have to kind of dummy it down just for the Nintendo, that could be a nuisance. So it'll be really interesting to see what Nintendo Switch 2 will look like. Obviously, the screen, they're gonna stick to whatever the best way and best, thing. I'm surprised it's LCD and not OLED, especially since they already have a Switch OLED out now. I don't have one. I still have first gen Switch running, but I'm not on my Switch all the time. I rarely pick that thing up and play it. From time to time I do. But like I said, I have it so that if I wanted to, I can play the next Mario game. I could play the next Zelda game. That's all I ever use my Switch for. If I'm going to a friend's house and we want to play Mario Kart, oh, there you go. I can do that. For everything else, I'm always looking at, okay, is it on Game Pass? Then I'll play it on Xbox. If it's not, and it's something I really want to play, I'll go to Digital Foundry and I'll see what their comparisons as far as performance and graphics go and which system would it perform best on, and that's the system I go with. Those are the links I go to so that at least I know that I'm getting the most bang for my dollar, because games now are $70 fucking dollars. I can't do it. I can't keep up. And it drives me nuts when I used to think about the years of me constantly buying games when they come out, hardly opening them, hardly playing them, and all the money I spend in a year for that. It's insane. So yeah. So Switch 2, PS4, who knows? We'll see. It'll be fun. It's going to sell tons. People are going to go rabid for it, and it'll be, it'll be what it is. Are you looking forward to Switch 2? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. All right. I want to talk about Palworld, since it's taken over my life for the last 2 nights. First, let's talk about some of the controversies behind it. I'm not going to go deep into it, but it is interesting because the Pokemon Company, they finally did release a statement about it all. Basically what it sounds like to me is like you have a bunch of people who are bitching, saying this is a huge Pokemon ripoff and clone. And they went to the Pokemon Company, they went to Nintendo, and they're like, yeah, have you seen what these guys are doing? What are you going to do about it, huh, Nintendo? What are you going to do about it, Pokemon guys? Are you going to just sit there and let them rob you? I bet you it's a lot of that shit. Because if no one was bitching or complaining about it, I guarantee you they probably wouldn't have said a damn thing. But you had a lot of people who were doing all that. And they finally released a statement. And basically what it just says, translated from Japanese, is that we have received many inquiries regarding another company's game. They don't even mention who this company is. It's really funny. They're tactful that way. Released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. To the Pokemon. I'm sure that was like a translation snafu. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. The Pokemon Company. This is simply just a response to that modder on YouTube who decided, hey, since it's on PC, I can mod stuff. Let's put Pokemon characters in Palworld. Yum, 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 yum. Let's put Ash Ketchum in it. Haha, this is hilarious. And I'm going to do a YouTube video about it. And I'm going to chronicle my adventures with these guys. Nintendo, shut that shit down. Like, no, sir, we don't like it.
You blew it!
And this is just basically what they're concerned about. They're just concerned about them putting that stuff in there. They're going to keep their eye on it. But as far as like the company goes and as far as the game itself goes, I don't think they're going to worry too much about it. However, it should be concerning to them that something like this from a very smaller development company, in a matter of a couple of days, we're able to sell over 8 million 8 million downloads on Steam. Plus, not to mention the amount of folks on Game Pass playing this, myself included, that they were able to garner this much attention and this much money and interest in something because it kind of looks like a Pokemon game. Now, having played it, PQ chiming in, Nourish, make better games then. Well, I'm going to get to that. Because, like I said at the top, I myself am not a fan of the Pokemon games. When it first came out back in the day on Game Boy, of course, like everybody else at the time, I tried it. I played it. I putzed with it. I watched the cartoons. And it had its moment in the sun for me. Have I beat the game? Never. Have I played more than what? Maybe 5 hours of it? Nope. I putzed around with it. It was fun while it lasted, and then I stopped. And I never went back. All these years, during all the iterations, whether it was on, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, all the home consoles, never played it once. Not interested. Not my thing. But I have friends who play it. PQ is one of them. PQ is probably one of the most die-hard Pokemon players that I know. And I hear him talk about it, and I also hear him gripe about it. I hear others talk about it, and I hear others gripe about it. And some of the most common things that I hear is that, yeah, the going around, the collecting nature of it all is fun. But there's so much more we want to do with this world. We want to be able to, venture out, meet other people, create other things, do more with our Pokemon and not just, battle them out, put them in arenas and all. We want to be able to do a lot of more stuff. We want to grow up already. We're done with the stuff that was attracting to us as a child, going around, venturing, collecting Pokemon, finding rare Pokemon. It became just basically a collecting game, like a gacha game, that as you would call it today. And of course, there's graphical limitations because you don't need anything too crazy when it comes to these games. You don't really need anything that advanced. It's very simple. You saw the craze when the Pokemon Go thing hit and people were just running around trying to scan, find Pokemon and all that. That thing didn't have outstanding graphics. But it was just a lure of collecting this and collecting that and getting this and getting that. But the diehards, they really just want to do more with their Pokemon. They want to do more in the world. Right? A lot of these players have moved on to other things. Your Minecrafts, your Fortnites. Yeah, those are the things that are very popular today. So you have this one company that saw all of that and said, hey, hear me out. Let's create a quote-unquote survival-like game that has elements of Minecraft, Fortnite, and creatures that are kind of similar to Pokemon that you could collect and harness, but you can make them do stuff for you, basically make them your slaves, fight for you, gather resources for you. And let's build a world around that. And that's what Palworld is. And as for someone like me who has never played any of those things, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I'd give it a shot. Oh, yeah. And in our marketing material, we'll have these Pokemon-like creatures carry guns. Oh, yeah. And it's something that you can do in the game. Wow. What? Pokemon with guns? If you look at all the headlines, on all the trades, all the internet talk, all the YouTube videos. The number one thing that they focused on a lot is just these characters with guns. The sheep with the machine guns, the big giant Pokemon Pikachu ripoff with cannons. That's all you see. You've got our attention. The Pokemon players are like, you got our attention. And it's smart. Is there a lot in the game? Not at the moment. The game is still very early access. It's what, 60%, if that, completed? So I'm not going to judge it for that. I know they're working on a lot of stuff, and now that they got a lot of money and funding because of how much it sold, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in the future. But that's the draw to a game like this, is that it appeases a lot of people. There are many elements. As soon as I booted the game and as soon as I got into my land, my world, my universe, it felt like I was playing Legend of Zelda Breath of Fire, or now Tears of the Kingdom. It felt like a Zelda game, like that type of gameplay. Plus, it has elements of it. You need clothes. You can have a weapon, but the weapon wears out. If you use it multiple times, you have to repair it or build a new one. You know, honestly, those are the things I hated about that game. It's like, I don't want to be worried about my sword breaking. Just let me do what I want to do. Let me venture. Let me go on an adventure. Why do I have to worry about cooking my food or building a hut, sewing my own clothes? I mean, come on. That's why I didn't last that long in Breath of the Wild. It's a great looking game, but that's not my Zelda.
I'm gonna come. Wow.
That's not my Zelda. But that's the route that we were going with. And now a lot of companies and a lot of development studios are now kind of borrowing from that because it's working. It's attracting a lot of people. And this developer said the same thing. It's like, you know what? We're going to try that too. We're just going to mix everything all together and then just, see how people react to it and make it cohesive. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. So I have Game Pass. So since it was there readily available to me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it out because it's on Game Pass and I'm curious. I want to see what the hubbub's about, bub. So I downloaded it. And with my friend who is here, PQ, who says, I like how things don't permanently break. That's great. I still don't like it. I don't like the fact that things are just breaking. But it's one of those things you get used to. It's part of the whole survival type gameplay mechanic. Game loop, as everyone's saying these days. It's funny how terminology changes every year. Now it's a game loop. Yeah, how can you tell people that you're into games or you're in the game industry without really saying much? Just say game loop. But yeah, I gave it a shot. My first disappointment was learning that the version on Game Pass is very different from the version on Steam. You can tell that they are putting all their focus on the version on Steam because obviously that is where they made their money. Obviously that's where they got all their attention. And Game Pass is Game Pass. So when PQ and I tried to play online, we could not because the version I was running was not compatible with the version that he was running because he had it on Steam. What the fuck? And the updates are rolling much slower on Game Pass. There was an update that happened 2 days ago, and there was finally an update that happened last night. I don't know if it's compatible with the Steam version that is out there now. I couldn't tell you because I haven't been able to test it out, because PQ decided, you know what, I'll join Game Pass just so we can play together and test it out. I'm like, all right, cool. Plus Game Pass, we could play other stuff too, which is always going to be a lot of fun. So I decided to hop in ahead to just get myself familiar with everything. The character creation could have been better, but it felt to me like they just took a lot of default assets from the from the Unreal Engine kind of architecture, and they just threw it all into one thing. Because there's no rhyme or reason as to your face sizes or your eyes or your hair. Whether you're male or female, it's all the same for everybody. Maybe they'll, look more into that later on, but you could tell that, we just wanted to get you into a character to get yourself into the world. So they just make like a default group of assets, and it just looked like they just got from, this library and this library. We don't have to pay extra for this. Okay, let's just like get some of those assets, put it all together, and then here you go. Have fun with that. I'm like, all right, it's not robust. So it didn't take me a long time to kind of like create my character and throw me into things. Now, once you get into the game, one of the very first things it does, it's say, here, make sure you read your survival guide to get yourself familiar with the world. I opened it up, and it's an endless amount of chapters filled with just reading. I ain't fucking reading.
You blew it!
Why the hell am I in this thing to like read endless amounts of shit? I'm a doer. I'm not a reader. I'm a doer. And I'm going to do shit. I'm going to go into this thing and I'm going to do stuff. But unfortunately, that is part of your tutorial. To get yourself familiar with what you're allowed to do, what you can do, whatever. And then once you're past that, they basically just throw you there with like little blurbs of tasks you have to do as part of your tutorial. And all of these tasks, I'm thinking in their minds, is to help you get acclimated and understand the mechanics and things that you have to do in order to survive and move on in this world. Now, for someone like me who has never played a Pokemon game in ages, I've never played Fortnite, I've never played Minecraft, you name it, not my type of game. I was so freaking lost. I was wondering, why am I freezing when it's night? Is it because I have no clothes? Well, shit. I guess I need to build a campfire. I don't have any weapons. What am I supposed to do? I remember in Breath of the Wild, I had to get a stick or build something real quick. Wait, how do you build something? I need a workbench? I guess I have to build a workbench. There's nothing in the game that kind of guides you to say, hey, find a place to make your base. Hey, now that you have a base, here are the essentials. Bam, bam, bam. It's basically a game where I'm in there and I'm just trying to figure shit out. Right? What was equally frustrating is that, PQ, my friend here, who is familiar with games like this, and who spent more time on this game because he was playing it on Steam, he hops into the game and he's just doing stuff like this. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. Why are you doing this? Why are you going over there? Where are you going? What am I supposed to do now? One of the first things I asked him was, okay, what's more important? Me doing something or figuring something out, or should I just follow this checklist of tutorial stuff? And he said, you know what? Follow that tutorial stuff because it'll help you get acclimated a little bit. But a lot of this stuff that you have to check off in your tutorial list is stuff that takes a long time to do. Plus, the game really wants you to not do a lot of your own resource farming. That's one of the reasons why you have these pals. These pals you capture aren't supposed to be just for fighting alone, like in Pokemon. They're also supposed to be your slaves that you whip and have them do labor for you. But the game, while you're in it, doesn't really tell you that. It doesn't really dictate that for you. So I basically had to figure that on my own or have someone like PQ help me and explain that to me. Like, oh, you know what? That kind of makes sense now. All right. So I'm out there trying to capture chickens and sheep, and, you know, those are some of the early creatures you come across. And okay, I can like have them in my base and they're going to do shit for me. And the more and more your base levels up, the more pals you could have in your base doing more stuff, the more things you can build, yada, 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 yada. It's almost like StarCraft. You know, I remember in StarCraft, which I played relentlessly, you needed to have a factory that you could like gather up the gas, the resources, so that you could build certain things. And then you had this other foundries that you could, you know, get people to gather the crystals that is like your currency so that you could afford to build things. And then you needed supply depots so that it's like your storage. The more of those you have, the more you could like hold and build and support. So if you think of it in those terms, in that kind of mental way of thinking about it, it's almost similar in that aspect. So I started, you know, recalling my StarCraft days. I was like, oh, I need to build a base like StarCraft, right? So I need to build like these storage boxes so I could hold stuff. I need to build this so I could build that. I need, you know, these guys to be like my little things to gather up my resources all for me. You know, but at least in StarCraft, they kind of walked you through and held your hand a bit to do all those things. You know, this game does not. It's not very friendly to those who are not familiar with these type of games. Another lesson to learn too is that not every pal will do the things you want it to do. And that's something I learned just, I think, last night for the first time. Was like, all right, I built this thing so that I don't have to break down stone anymore. So, you know, my pals should be able to help break down stone for me. Build a berry farm so that they could self-sustain and feed themselves. But how come no one is, you know, gathering resources from the wood thing or from the berry thing or da-da-da, this and that? You have to pay attention to your pal to see what their specialties are. And even though I had pals that specialized in mining and specialized in, you know, farming, so they could like gather the berries, and then you know, certain pals have specialties in transporting. So not only are these guys mining and shit, you need people that will actually gather it up and bring it to the storage boxes or bring it to the food supply area. But none of my pals were sufficient in lumbering. So that's why I had this useless freaking lumber resource that no one was mining or no one was gathering resources from. So I had to go back out into the world and find out, okay, who can lumber stuff? And I found the monkeys, the little monkey creatures. I'm like, oh, they could do it. All right, come back. And then when I finally got them in my base, I'm like, oh, look, I was right. They can now lumber wood for me. Hooray! And you need a lot of wood. Wood.
I'm gonna come.
But you need the wood a lot. You need stone and wood. Stone and wood are like your two main resources that you're going to need early on to do a lot of stuff. So the sooner you can get these things working, the sooner that you can get that supply chain going, the easier it will be for you to build things, right? And, you know, you could make the base the way you want it. You know, obviously there are things that you're going to need to open up. I finally opened up like a little pen because you need wool to create cloth. You need cloth to create armor and da 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 all this stuff. So it's nice to just to have that resource in your base as well. And then you need people who can specialize in fire, so that if you need to like use the stove or the burner thingy to create metals, you have that. The forger, right? So you have to pay attention to a lot of these little things. And I feel like I've probably played this game now for, I want to say, a little over 10 hours. I think it's safe to say that. All I've been doing for 90% of that time is working on my base. I feel like this whole time. Now, mind you, 10 hours into a game for most other video games is like 35% completion of said game. But I'm just doing this time to build my base, build up a proper supply chain going, have the right amount of pals working on the right amount of stuff, and also getting familiar with the army that I'm carrying with me so that when I do eventually fight stuff, I have the right type of creatures or mix of creatures that can help me out in that. PQ, and you need that one dude you're not supposed to capture that does nothing but hang out. Yeah. Which is funny when you have it, but then so unnecessary, especially with the amount of time you spend on trying to capture said guy. Like me. I went through freaking 15 Pokeballs, or spheres as they call it, to try to capture this stupid thug. You can capture humans and enslave them as well, but those people usually don't do a thing. They're usually useless. So yeah, so like I'm in my base this whole time and I'm trying to build stuff and mine for resources or what have you. And then something happened for the first time I experienced it. Not last night, but 2 nights ago. My base got raided. So, you have to defend from raids to your base. I'm like, what's going on? All of a sudden, my base is getting attacked by these creatures, or sometimes these thugs come over. So that's another aspect to it. It's like you have to defend your base. Again, if you think of StarCraft, think of it. Like, you're going to have the Zerg coming in. You got to have the Protoss coming in. It's like, who are you? We're going to attack you. And the early raids I experienced were not that bad because, the amount of pals I had, plus myself, we were able to, fend them off and kill them off. Until yesterday, when all of a sudden these giant dinosaur-like creatures came and raided my base. And I was like, oh no! Lucky enough, we were able to fight them off. I didn't lose any pal. But I turn around and my house is gone. Shambles. PQ and I shared a house, multi-level, try to make it a little fancy because, we're from the city, so we want to make it really nice, apartment style. Only thing left remaining was the foundation. And then all the pals who were near it, they're like, beep, 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 and they're just collecting the wood that was left over and putting it into storage boxes. I'm like, wait, my house. Oh, my house. Oh, my car.
Wow.
So that's something you have to keep in mind too. You have to be able to find a way to defend your base. So I built up like this giant gate and a trap that really seems to be working for now, because the other raids that tried to attempt to come in, they were stopped at where the gate was. And and one of the guys even got caught in my trap, which I thought was hilarious. But again, they don't tell you, okay, now that you have someone in your trap, how do you reset it? The game doesn't tell you any of that stuff. So we were left to just dismantle it and then just build a new one. But I feel like that's just such extra effort that's so unnecessary. And that's another thing too. It's like it tells you to build this thing and that thing and this thing, but it doesn't always explain to you why you need it. There's really no hand holding at all in this game. And if you have very little patience, you're going to go mad. You're going to lose it. And you're like, why the fuck am I even doing this? Right. And then, we ventured off and we had some encounters. There's a system where that you could visit dungeons and you could raid the dungeons and you can collect treasures that way. You could raid camps, and sometimes these camps they capture these pals. And instead of trying to capture the pal yourself and capturing with your sphere, if you defeat the camp, you could release the captured pal, and that pal now becomes part of your group. So there are things like that you can do. There are these giant like pals, these giant creatures that are necessary for you to defeat, so you can get certain resources from them, and they're specially highlighted. They're like bosses, I guess, in a way you could call them. So that you can highlight them, and then you can say, okay, if I need to get these like advanced pieces to build things with, we need to take these guys out. I'm like, all right, so there's that going on. So yeah, you have things like that and all those different type of mechanics and loops and what have you. But as of right now, as of where I am, that's all there is. So how much longer is it going to be just me doing that over and over and over again? Now I'm sure in time they're going to have events where you could like have, a bunch of people go to a certain spot and, participate in said event, take down maybe this big creature or take down this army or these group of thugs. And of course, you're also evolving your pals so that they could do more things. And, I finally saw one of my monkeys. I was able to finally craft them a machine gun. So I saw them using a machine gun for the first time last night. I was like, oh my God, there he is. A monkey with a machine gun. So it's interesting. But with all that being said, if you were to ask me if this was a game that I would go out and buy, I would say no. It's not my bag. It's not my cup of tea. Because I feel like I'm just wasting so much time building and just there's a lot of sim-like elements that maybe if this was me 10 years ago, I wouldn't mind it so much, but I feel like I'm so past that just because of patience. I usually don't have the patience anymore for those things. That's why I find it hard to play RPGs. Like you need so much patience and time to be able to play all that stuff. But why did this game take up so much of my time the last 2 nights? Mainly it's because I'm playing with my friend. And I feel like if you're playing something with somebody like this, it makes the time go by so much quicker. Because now you're participating in a kind of like a group thing, like a co-op, which I don't get to do so much these days anymore. And to be able to like capture pals together or accomplish a mission together, work on the base together, that's where I find all the fun happening. And it's keeping me in there. It's because I'm not doing this alone. Even though, PQ can just be doing stuff randomly and not explain it, and that could be very frustrating. Still, I'm enjoying my time because I'm with my bud. We're doing this together. And I can see how that could be like even more, how much more fun it would be if you had more people with you. So you have your own little army, your own little group, your own little community, your colony working on all this stuff together. And if this is going to be the future of this game, then I think that'll be truly fascinating. If the purpose of the game is possibly building colonies of people randomly that you team up with, that you are friends with, you're building guilds to live in this universe, and maybe there'll be opposing guilds. If they ever do decide to do PvP, then that in itself could be very fascinating and a lot of fun. And if you're into that, and if that sounds interesting to you, then this could be the game for you. I think this game will be extremely, extremely popular. The more they get in there, the more they fix things. I think this game has the potential to be really strong. And I think people like the Pokemon Company should be concerned, because now you're giving the Pokemon players more stuff to do. It's a more mature type of game. You're not just running out there collecting shit. Now you're doing stuff. And those you collect, you are putting to use much in a better way than you did before. Before it was like, I need to have X amount of Pokemon that can do this and do that so that I have an archetype to fight against these type of Pokemon. But now you're having pals that are efficient in lumbering, that are efficient in mining, that are efficient in farming, that are efficient in doing this and doing that, defending, building, so that I have these workers, slaves, maintaining my base, maintaining my community, my colony. And then on top of that, I have this amount of pals that is my army, that is going with me on my adventures as I'm out there exploring, as I'm out there fighting bosses, doing what I need to do. So you're expanding on that whole idea and concept. And I think that's one of the things like the Pokemon games have been missing and lacking. And I think that's also one of the main reasons why this game is performing so well and doing so well. But again, it's not really my cup of tea. If I had to pay $30 for this, I would politely decline, because it's just not my type of game. Am I glad that I got a chance to check it out and, putz around with it? Absolutely. Because I want to know what a game like that is. I've been kind of hinting to my friends recently. I was like, hey, you want to try Fortnite? Yeah, because I have never tried it, and I kind of want to get the idea behind it. And you don't necessarily have to always, engage in building and everything. You can just like go in there and do like group team battles and whatever. And, of course, people are hesitant because, Fortnite's Fortnite. It's not always for everybody. Plus, we're all older. We're not young anymore. Our reflexes are much, slower. So, we don't have the patience for games like that anymore. But this kind of gives you a little bit of all of that in one sitting. Not everything completely, but a little bit of everything. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm glad I had a chance to try it. Will I continue to play it? Yeah. I want to see how the game shifts the higher in level you get. Because I'm noticing there is a shift once you hit level 12 or higher. There's a certain different shift there. And I heard other people say that once you hit level 20, 25, there's another shift there. So I kind of want to see what those shifts are and what that means for the game itself. So I'll putz around with it a little bit more, especially if I'm going to have my buds play with me. How much further beyond I'm going to be playing that, I don't know. I can't tell you. But if it's going to get to the point where it feels repetitive, kind of like how Destiny eventually felt like to me, then I'm not going to last that much longer in it. The only benefit I have is that I didn't pay extra for this. And then once I'm done and I quit, then PQ can go into Fortnite and watch them concerts like he wants. Because it's Friday, y'all.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
Let's go. Let's go. All right, y'all. I'm curious, like, if for those of you who may be watching, like, on the replay or what have you, what are your thoughts on Palworld? Have you been playing it? Have you been one of the 8 million plus people playing it? Let me know. Very curious. And where do you foresee this game going into the future? I'd love to know all that stuff. All right. As we are slowly approaching the 12 noon mark, the last thing I really wanted to talk about today is Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. because that game is coming out soon. Let's see, when is that game coming out? Let's see, Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad kills. Let's see. Just tell me the release date, y'all. I just want to know, when is it coming out? Jesus. Cheese and rice. Release date. Oh, February 2nd. Yeah, that's really right around the corner. That's actually next Friday. When is it?
It's
Next.
Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
That's right. Next Friday, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League releases. I'm late to this. I know a lot of people had their chance to talk about their thoughts on, the alpha, the beta, the play test, however you want to call it. PQ, not everyone is like you. Next week is Persona 3 for you, but not for everybody. World doesn't evolve around you. This is not Palworld. It's not Palworld. Pal. But it's coming out next Friday. People who've played it are already saying stuff about it. I myself was part of that alpha playtest, whatever you want to call it. I was able to do that. And I played I think I clocked in 5 hours of my playtime. Let's just say this. I was able to start it up and I was able to play up until the point where it stopped allowing me to further progress in the storyline. So that you've reached the end of the alpha or whatever, boom. That's it. So I played enough to go through all that. I don't have any video footage because it was watermarked. So it had basically my email address spread all over the place while I was playing it. They were being very careful about that stuff. But of course, it didn't stop people from leaking their thoughts online during all of it. But now they decided, they're like, you know what? We'll lift the NDA that everyone agreed to because we just want people to talk more about it in hopes that it'll gather interest. Because initial reactions were just very negative. PQ, can we unlock bricks so we can build a new home? Absolutely, we could. I want to build our Epstein Island, buddy. I'm going to find an island and I want to build our Epstein Island. Let's go.
I'm gonna come.
So I'm also going to preface this review also with something. I haven't played Gotham Knights. And I think the last superhero game that I played that was like co-op or multiplayer was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, but I played it very briefly. Because what this game does is that it allows up to 4 people to co-op online and play through a storyline. But it's also in an open world environment, right? And of course, the big draw here is that you get to play DC characters and you get to play a member of the Suicide Squad. And the premise of the story is that the Justice League, they are being brainwashed and manipulated, and they're now fighting everybody. They're going nuts. And your job as a Suicide Squad is to find out why and defeat the reason why they've all changed. And they've all, they've gone nuts. They've lost their goddamn minds. You have Brainiac involved. You have all that stuff. So my initial thoughts on this game is, and I'm not going to judge it based off of graphics and based off of certain game mechanics, because it was it was a version that was still being worked on. But for what it was worth, for what it was there, and for what I was able to play, I will say this: the game is fun when you play within the realm of the story arc. If you're following the storyline and you get to those, story moments and those story bits, that part of the game is a lot of fun. There's this one part of the game where you are literally walking through the history of Batman, his encounters, and because it's like a museum. It's like you're walking through a museum and you get to like hit a button and you hear the museum or this exhibit talk about the history of Batman during his encounters. And, it is Rocksteady. So you're going through the Arkham history of Batman. So everything that you remember playing in any of the Arkham games, it's telling you that stuff. And that's cool. I like that a lot. You get to go to the Hall of Justice where the Justice League hang out. And each member has their own section that you could explore. And you see like little trinkets or bits of history on those, superhero characters. And it's really cool going through all those things. I really enjoy that a lot. It's everything else that I just could care less for. Or couldn't care less for. The open world stuff. The getting from point A to point B and the stuff in between was just tedious and annoying to me. It really was. And it felt like it was very hard to grasp your bearings once you were in the open world. I remember there was a point where I was on a rooftop and Amanda Waller is in your ear saying, we gotta go here and you gotta meet up with the Flash, who we saw running over there. I'm like, all right, where am I going? And I remember I was going one way, and then before I knew it, I was out of bounds. I'm like, what the fuck? I had to turn around, and then I see like a little waypoint mark. I'm like, okay, I need to go that way. But if I'm not in the air the whole time and I happen to be ground level, every single moment there's a damn robot trying to fire at me or try to hit me, trying to block my way. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's like, how can one person progress if I'm not freaking flying through the air or swinging from building to building, right? And God forbid you have teammates that are not on the same wavelength as you. Because the one thing that this thing does is that if you are a solo person like myself and you forget to turn off online multiplayer, then random people can join your team as other members of the Suicide Squad. And they'll just hop into your game. And God forbid you're not on the same wavelength as this guy or girl. That person could be going over there and I'm going over here, and then there's no way to communicate. And then if you finally make it to the destination, now you're waiting for that person to show up. Because there's no like instant travel where it's like, okay, your guy is here. We're going to load this in 4 seconds. No, you have to wait for this other person to finally see where you are and to have them join you. I was just like, oh, kill me now. Because you have freaking numbnuts over here flying in the air trying to like kill a ship that you're not supposed to kill. Right? And then you have freaking dipshit over here staring at a wall. Because maybe they froze or maybe they're AFK. I was like, you gotta be joking. I'm just standing here at this point, fucking playing with myself and waiting for someone to show up. Annoying as fuck. Now, I could see that being very different if you got all 4 slots with people you know, people you're cool with. Like, all right, we got this. Let's go play. But if you're by yourself and you didn't turn that off, then get ready. Rude awakening moment. So that was those were some of the things that really stood out to me. Now, as far as progression when it comes to weapons and pieces of armor, they have the trinket system like you are familiar with when it comes to Overwatch or when it comes to Valorant. They have all those things. But as far as like the loot drops are concerned, from my experience, it was very random outside of the main missions. Now, if you complete some main missions, you may get a drop of a specific weapon that doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason. Like, it feels like whatever you get can be used by any member of your squad. Rarely do you get something that was really custom made just for you. I'm like, okay, this is something I can use. But for the most part, it feels like it's something that everyone in your team can use. Now, when it's not mission based and you're out, just let's say you do like the fact that you could just randomly roam around and just beat robots up and all that good stuff. The drops happen very few and far in between, and there's also, again, no rhyme or reason to these drops. Like, I remember I was just trying to get away from one of these robots, and I was like, you know what? F it. You're on my ass. I'm going to, like, just kill you and get rid of you. And all of a sudden gave me a legendary drop. I was like, oh, cool. All right. Thanks. You know, it was... Does that mean that the game is going to force you to farm and grind to get the best weapons? I really hope not, because if it is, I'm out. I already wasn't really fully in to begin with. And if you're going to be telling me that that's what's going to happen, no, I've had my moments with games like that. I cannot do it to myself again. No thanks. You know, and again, this is just opinion based off of a very short portion of the game that I was allowed to play through and explore and experience. Plus, it was also a very unpolished version as well. As far as like the movements and abilities are concerned, each person has their own abilities and their own specialties and what they're good at, which is pretty cool. The one thing that's lacking that I wish they had more of is team up moments. One of the great things about Ultimate Alliance, anyone from the first one up until the third one, is that you as a team can do special team abilities and team moves, right? I believe Gotham Knights allowed you to do that too. I don't know. I can't say. Never played it. But this one seemed to be lacking that. You know, you have team objectives and you have team goals, and you know, you have moments. I think you have buffs where if you are within the vicinity together, you do X amount of extra damage. But there's no specific team move that you can do. And I think if you are building kind of like a superhero comic book like type of team up co-op game to play, one of the things that we always love in the comics or movies is when teams can do stuff together as a group. You know, the Fantastic Four does it, the X-Men does it. We see it all the time. One of the best scenes in all of comic book movie history is the first Avengers movie, when they're in the city and you have Iron Man and Captain America fighting, you know, almost back to back. And all of a sudden they're doing moves together. You see Iron Man shooting his Iron Blast off of Captain America's shield, bouncing off to this other guy. How fucking awesome is that? And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, they got that from Ultimate Alliance, because you were able to do that in Ultimate Alliance. I love moments like that. And this game didn't have that. At least from what I could tell, it didn't have it. And I thought that sucked. That's like a missed opportunity. How awesome would it be if like freaking King Shark could pick you up and like toss you at somebody? Or if Harley Quinn can, like, you know, I don't know, bounce off of you onto someone's head, or, you know, something crazy and random. You know, it'll be kind of cool. How if Boomerang can, like, you know, use his boomerang to teleport you somewhere in front of someone's face and you punch them in the nose, or whatever the case is. I don't know. Maybe it was hard for them to figure that out with this, you know, eclectic group of characters. But the fact that that was missing, I thought was kind of like a missed opportunity there. But yeah. So it definitely has its ups, its downs. As far as, is this a game that I'm going to play or that I'm looking forward to playing? Nah. I'm going to pass on this one. Unless it like shows up on Game Pass and I have a good amount of friends that are willing to try it with me, I have no desire to play this game. And I like Rocksteady. Those Arkham games, I love those games to death. Those games are a lot of fun. But those games are solo adventures. I could just sit down and play that by myself. This is not a game I'd want to play by myself. Because it's boring if you are playing with just NPC teammates, which already has its own challenges, because I do feel like the NPC AI is a little off. I remember I had like an NPC boomerang fighting a group of guys like way off on the side, but we were supposed to be staying on this rooftop to maintain and defend the rooftop, and this NPC was just like, no, I'm gonna go over here. Now I'm sure that could be tweaked, and again, it's like early on and all, but it was just really annoying. I'm just like, oh, freaking, I'm dealing with stupid AI for these NPCs. And then God help me if I turn on multiplayer and I have random dipshits coming in, just you know, just like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Or you have those ones that try to rush through everything. So I'm trying to like finish this one thing and they're already up to the next thing without you, not even waiting for you. I hate that. Yeah, so this is not a game for me. Will it be a game for you? I don't know. Maybe. I'm very curious to hear what the reception is going to be like when it comes out. And I understand why Rocksteady is like, you know what? We need as many people as possible to talk about this. Because there are people who like it. There are people who had fun with this. You know, I had fun, but to a certain point, if I had to just focus on the story elements, then I could see myself having fun with that. But of course, games like this don't just focus on that story arc. Games like this are built for you to stay on it as long as possible and to entice you to want to unlock this and unlock that and do this and do that, even though it's not necessarily needed for the main story arc. You know, it's the whole Grand Theft Auto thing, which they finally kind of solved in the last one. But that was the problem why I kind of dropped off of open world stuff for a long time. It's because I don't want to be doing side quests C, D, and E. I just want to be focusing on A, the main storyline. Why are you tempting me or enticing me to freaking raise sheep or you know, be a DJ at this bar? Like, I don't care about that stuff. You know, there are benefits in doing it, but I personally couldn't give a shit about any of it. I just want to go. I like my stuff on rails, and I'm noticing that more and more as I get older. And when I sit down and play a game, I want to go from point A to point B and just worry about that. I don't want to go to F, G, or H. But that's just me. You know, I'm no longer part of that generation that a lot of these games are now speaking to. And that's one of the reasons why I go back to retro. Because it gives me that thing that I'm looking for and that I need. You know what I'm saying? All right. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on Suicide Squad versus Justice League. That's just how I feel about all that. Let's see. Last check in on the poll here that I have up. 3 votes. Looks like most people are playing a video game this weekend. I have a feeling one person, or maybe the 2 or the 3, are going to be watching a movie. What movie? If you're still here, let me know what movie you're planning to watch as we close things out for this morning. And for this,
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Friday.
yeah, let me know in the chat and the comments, or if you're watching on the replay, if you are planning to watch a movie this weekend, what movie are you planning to see? All right, y'all. There is a chance that I may come back online later tonight and play a game online. I don't know. I'm not making any promises, but there's a chance I could do that either tonight or maybe sometime on Sunday. So stay tuned to that if you want to join me as I play something online. Maybe I'll chip away at my backlog. Who knows? We'll see. Um, this weekend, I am getting a chance to hang out with my bud, who we also do kind of this retro gaming kind of backlog. So we're gonna attempt to finish finally Guardian Heroes on the Sega Saturn. Fingers crossed his console doesn't crap out on us this time. And we'll be watching the Royal Rumble because it's one of my favorite WWE events that happens through the year. You don't even need to follow any storyline. I just love the chaos that creates. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's my weekend up ahead. But I hope all of y'all have a fantastic weekend. Have a fantastic,
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
you know what I'm saying? Make sure you stay safe, you stay cool, you stay calm, and you stay collective. I will catch you officially live again on Monday as we recap anything that happened over the weekend, box office, all that good stuff. And as always, I want to thank all of you for your support, for tuning in on these live shows. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of people are here always, but I'm building on the algorithm. The channel, YouTube doesn't know I do this yet. It's still learning. So hopefully we can get this thing going. But the best way to make sure that the algorithm is more friendly to us and more friendly to these streams is to engage and interact. PQ, I appreciate you with the comments. Always awesome talking to you. Max, if you're still here, love that you chimed in. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you comment if you're watching on the replay. Also hit that like on the replay. And if you want to stay up to date with everything that we do here on the channel, the reviews, the recaps, the watch-alongs, the reactions, all that good stuff, best way to do so is to make sure you're subscribed. So hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to get notified every time a new video is posted. And if you want to go further above and beyond in supporting the channel, you could do so by memberships. Right now, we just have one tier, friend of the channel tier, for only $1. You could be a friend of the channel and support us on the monthly basis. I'll be introducing newer tiers in the coming month for more engagement and more ways to have fun together as a community. And also check out the affiliates that we have in the description of this video. Show if there's anything else there that looks appealing and teasing and something that you would like and be interested in. Anytime you interact through any of those affiliate links, we get a little kickback, and all that goes back to supporting this channel. So I thank you all of that. Thank you all for all of that. All right. With all that being said, I'm Renee. This has been The Morning After. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. I will catch you all in the next one. Peace out, yo!